So today's video was actually recorded as I'm recording this now. It's from a different date. This session that I had, this reading, was actually like quite super. I don't speak English. It was different. It was like her personality is Neptunian, so a lot of I feel like there was a lot of flow there. I was able to get through most of it, and which was kind of it gave it a certain type of level of like difference. I don't know how to describe it, but it was definitely fun. But I'm looking forward to doing it again. Because when you usually it's not just like, oh, the person does this. When there's receptivity, there's flow. It's it makes for a very fun session. So anyways, just a heads up, part of the glitches and the freezing and all that stuff was part of the recording process, but I didn't want to tamper with it too much. I just let it be like that, like raw. So, hope you enjoy it. You said that you had a reading done for you 15 years ago. I'm not sure if you're familiar with how your chart looks or what it looks like. Based on what you gave me, this is what it looks like. These are the basic stuff. Um, I'm pretty sure, were you introduced to your ascendant, moon, and sun? Okay, that's usually the case. What I usually do is like I go into details and detail and detail and detail. I like layered up, so at least that's what I try to do. But let me know if it's starting to become all, or it's like, yeah, okay. But I mean, actually, from what I see in your chart, anyways, you're tenacious, so you have tenacity. So you're Scorpio, right? So I'm sure you can last. What do you call this? Okay, so ascendant wise, you already know like when you dress up or when how you look, it's how you package yourself. That's the ascendant. You've heard about that one. The Leo thing makes it so that you kind of want to stand out, right? Yeah. Usually that's the case. It also ties in with your body, so that means you enjoy things that are both kind of active but also comfortable at the same time. That's very Leo. Um, being the center of attention is kind of like it's kind of like, oh, this is how I present myself. I want, not necessarily like in a negative way at all. It just means like it's part of what makes Leo generous. It's that energy of Leo that goes like, cheer me. I want you to give me the energy so that I can give you the energy back tenfold. That's usually the case. Literally. Sorry, go ahead. Oh, okay, okay. Sorry. Sometimes I can't hear with. Yeah, that's fine. No, no, no problem. Um, so yeah, and also yes, that means that the way you typically wear things, it kind of stands out to the point maybe where it's depending on what their chart will show, but typically, yeah, ascendant Leo people are they like it showy, right? So the other thing about this thing is that we go into more of the shadow stuff here, where we look into the descendant to add to the ascendant, to the meaning of the ascendant. So what that means is that usually in this descendant area right here, um, it shows it's a part of our lives that shows how like our current environment or not current, our general environment was like growing up. It could be with family, it could be with people. Usually it's family. Usually that's the strongest uh, influence. So with it being in Aquarius, you probably got surrounded by a lot of maybe super scientific, technical, overthinking, um, it was always about others. You couldn't be your real self, like you couldn't be independent and have this sort of like, it almost felt like you had to be of service to everyone else. Um, and there was a lot of like, maybe emotions were not validated. That's the actual word that I want to use here. So with that being the case, um, you part of you buried that. I don't know if it's still the case right now because we all change, as we grow. Part of you suppressed that. Part of you disowned, rejected that. It's part of it's we all do rejections. Those disowning. It's part of the shadow stuff. Yeah. And so what happens is that instead of it being like instead of like a part of you that is also scientific or like technical and altruistic and humanitarian, that's usually there's a shadow side to that. So what happens is that you rejected that because it's almost like you had to do it, and your subconscious is going like, well, you're actually rejecting me, and so carefree, uh, full of life, also intuitive, um, kind of like living in the moment and just in and being full of that solar energy sort of thing, right? And also open to emotional connections, being connected in a very like innocent, childlike way. This is Leo. Leo is the child, the eternal child. So that's a part of that. Does that resonate at least with that one? I'm sure it does. Yeah. hmm mm And so there's that too, but there's also the part of us which is the nadir, which is the imunqueli right here. And this is part of our core beliefs. I actually ran into this just like a few weeks ago, was it last month, where I started to realize that for myself, and then I tested on other people, and I was like, oh yeah, it is core beliefs, because even in the discipline of astrology called synastry, I don't know, are you familiar? Have you heard of that term? Okay, it's basically love astrology, like it could be not. It doesn't have to be romantic, but usually it is. Um, And so what happens is that there's this astrologer, Stephen Forrest. He actually looks into the fourth house, which is this one right here, all the way up to the seventh to determine kind of like I guess you can see the beginnings of how relationships work. If we're talking like if he were doing like what do you call this? A reading for clients, but then it's a couple. He looks at both charts, or he has this one called like a composite chart. Um, and what he does is that he goes to the fourth house. So that signifies that core beliefs have a lot to do with relationships because it's our beliefs, it's core beliefs, right? With it being in Scorpio, typically what that means is that also ties in with your sun, anyways, right? Uh, so that means that I guess you had this role of being the quiet one, the secretive one, the one who knew what they were doing, the one who was hardworking, tenacious, and emotionally controlled. But there was something secretive and kind of like maybe it was really hard to read you. Maybe there was a lot of power struggle that maybe you felt like this in command person. And that kind of became your core belief that you had to almost do things on your own, or at least have this intensity and intense expectations that relationships should be absolute. Yeah. And so what happens is that as part of your core belief, that reflects back into instead what other people see you as. Instead of it being that way because you're kind of secretive, or at least that's the part of your core belief, what people see is actually the opposite, which is in this case easy, maybe like you like your there's a part of you that has in a way kind of subconsciously not rejected but like kind of kept that to yourself, and so instead what other people see is the shadow side of Scorpio, which is Taurus, which is like stubborn. um what is the other? Yeah, there's stubbornness, there's inflexibility, maybe obsessed with material goods and possessions, and but it's tied a lot to trust, resource sharing, for example. That's one huge Scorpio thing. That's why Scorpio actually through the eighth house right here it rules taxes. So if you had any questions about taxes, we go into the eighth house typically. Um, so it's like it's that kind of thing as well. It's that split. It's a I'm still testing this part where it's like how do I get more specific in terms of like how is a nadir, which is down here, I see, tie in with the MC, because usually when it's the MC, it's the way people see you, and if you compared it to the AC, which is the ascendant, this is how you want people to see you, but they see otherwise, or they see something else, which is in this case the Taurus energy. They see like yeah, you like things that are pleasurable. You like things that I didn't do that by the way. You like things that are pleasurable. You like things that are easy. You like things simple. That's what they see you as. But really, behind all that, it's like, no, I actually want complicated. Well, you see it as complicated. I don't. Right? So yeah, and that's just like the angles themselves. So right here, working with the angles, this is a part of the. These are big points in one's life. Right? It has a lot to do with presentation, your body generally, or like family values, foundation, because that's how you, I guess you can say, yeah, how you, another way of presenting yourself to the world, but it's not intentional. It goes the opposite direction, which is like it's what people see. So going with that, we have to go back into the ascendant because your chart ruler, is what we call the chart ruler, is the sun. So there's a huge focus on the sun for your whole chart. For you, it's all about like shining, but in this case, it's a Scorpio shining. So it's not necessarily like I want to be the center of attention. No, I want to be in control, right? Um, mhm. And generally speaking, you have means that you identify with uh, sort of magical way of communicating. That's the best way I can sum it up to one little thing. Um, yeah, it's like because Neptune is about fantasy. Neptune is about magic, illusions, also delusions, escapism, alcohol, music, art, idealism, spirituality, probably religion, not really, but spirituality for sure. So what that states about your ascendant is that it adds that color of mystery to how you communicate. So people might see you as like this person who's like, oh, or at least what you want them to see here. You want them to be like, oh, I'm artistic, I'm carefree, I'm outgoing, I'm all that stuff. But I, when you express yourself, it's almost like the first impression they get is, oh, very out there, very right, very out there. And plus with that Scorpio thing, there's an intensity about it that people don't really like. They can't figure you out. Like they see it, and then it's almost like you see a layer of like the water. It's like, oh, it's clear, but then there's this thing underneath it that's like, what is that? Right. So definitely like a mystery about you. Heritage, lineage, ancestry, inheritance as well as part of that. Um, I would say that. Did you sometimes have like a distant, not necessarily emotionally distant, but kind of very spiritual kind of father, or at least a relationship? Mm. It's up to you. It's up to you. Mhm, mhm. Ah, okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, that's totally fine. It's still a father figure. That's still like the son. Um, do you know if your biological father was like into drugs or alcohol or? Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. So there you go. So yeah, it could be any father figure. You probably, I mean, if there's a part of you that has accepted an aspect of that, if you've gone deep into your shadow, and forget the fact that it's the word shadow, it's really going deep into the subconscious, then most likely that stuff will change. We'll see. We'll look into your progression chart and see how much that has changed. I'm pretty sure it has changed. So, oh yeah, I mean, I have Pluto conjunct my sun. I'm a very Plutonian personality, but I'm not as like power hungry as I was before. So it's like, oh, okay, that explains it. And then you look at your chart and you're like, oh, it's in the stars. So it's wonderful. There's this connection, right? But this also means that as you're part of your foundation, you pretty much actually still up to this day, you pretty much enjoy any of this stuff. This is like the spirituality stuff. Like I'm pretty sure you have a lot of what do you call this? One of your, I guess you can say one of your modality has a lot to do with in not I want to say I'm not gonna say intuition, but like do you channel? Yeah, that's okay. Okay. We'll take a look more into the asteroids that are attached to these three planets. That will give me an idea of more like what is it that's in there. Because I could talk more about this area, but it's just too much detail. Like, I mean, I could say, for example, that I mean, I kind of figured out that it's like from this one, it's like, oh, there's alcoholism, there's potential drug stuff, and you know, even with father figures, that's like one little detail. But there's more to it than that. Could be music as well. Any sort of form of creativity is part of that as well. As long as it's like weird creativity, not like the Leo creativity, sort of, but also maybe for you in this case because it's in Scorpio, some sort of creativity or creative expression, which is Mercury, um, that is cathartic. Like it's just like oh, it's like it's almost orgasmic. It's like I want that kind of creativity. Do you feel like that still sometimes? Ah, okay, there you go. Oh, well, that's okay. Of course, dancing is also included there. Okay, okay, of course. Yeah, yeah, and you actually really enjoy still to this day being in that sort of like mode, in that condition. What do you call it? In that state of being when you're like in like a private, your own privacy, like you feel really like this is where you shine, and also you are really yourself. Because it's the fourth house. This is the one where you're like, oh yeah, there are things I don't tell people that I'm not going to tell people, and it's just gonna be for me and only the spirits and my guides and the angels and all that stuff. And the universe will see it, but no other humans, right? Yeah, and that's why there's that challenge here. There's that aspect here too. Presenting yourself can be quite has been a challenge, especially when you were younger. It was quite a challenge to be completely yourself, even though you wanted to show them that this is the case. But it was like, oh, it's such a challenge, especially with family. It's almost like you couldn't really, yeah, you couldn't be completely yourself to family. Right? Yeah. So, and then at the same time, people probably misunderstood you. You have that mid-heaven square your ascendant. People are they just feel like they don't get what you were trying to show them, or they don't get what makes you happy. So instead, they saw something else, which is a Taurus thing. They think you're like simple. Maybe they even thought you were like kind of slow, to the point. And I'm not trying to be negative, but you probably perceived it that they perceived you as slow-minded, but actually you're not. You're just somewhere else. And it was like, yeah, there you go. Awesome. Okay, awesome. This is also like points for me, so that means I'm getting it. Awesome, thank you. It's a pleasure to also like combine. It's a combine. It's sort of like this symbiosis, this energetic symbiosis, where if I get something right, it's like, and then it resonates with you, and you're like, bam. Okay, awesome. Okay, cool. Now we're gonna go a little bit deeper, and because we have when you were born, we have your Sun, Neptune, and Mercury in Scorpio. We look into Pluto because Pluto is the one main ruler of Scorpio. Its traditional ruler Mars here for you was in Aquarius. So there's two things that there's several thoughts, particularly like your Sun, but we're going to also include these three, because it's a stellium. A stellium is just three planets or more together, and what that means is that when planets are in aspect, this one right here, like a conjunction, it means that aspects dictate the lines that you see here. All those things, those lines, those are aspect lines. And what they do is they help the astrologer reveal potential, uh, maybe experiences, incidences, and it adds all to the interpretation of what, you know. It's almost like part of like a timeline in a way. Like it's almost creates a story. Instead of just describing the personality, it's almost like, oh, here's a story. Um, and because, so in astrology, I don't know if you know this one, but in astrology, because it's a form of divination, it's not only spiritual, I mean, it's not only psychological or scientific, but it's also spiritual, which obviously is obviously. But um, it's also the fact that this is what I noticed about the planets, because I was kind of like analyzing it, and then this thought came to my head, because I love watching Teal Swan stuff because she does real deep shadow work. I've done shadow work for a few years. I've been doing it for like years. I don't know. It doesn't matter. And hers is like deeper. But the one thing I like that she was talking about, how we're all fragmented, we are fractured. It's actually the universe started to fracture itself the moment it started to identify I. So the planets in astrology, I find, based on what I've noticed, it's like, there's so many. Aren't these the fractures? So I thought to myself, whoa, it kind of makes sense, because there's an aspect of yourself that wants to shine. There's an aspect of yourself that wants to express yourself or it's all about transmission, information, learning. There's a part of yourself that just wants to run away and escape and go into fantasy land, and, Disneyland or whatever. You know, there's a part of us that wants to be with people. There's a part of us that wants to just be like, surprise me. I don't know what to do. Give me the unexpected. So there's all these fragments. So why I mentioned that is because this helps us in astrology put together these fragments and make sense of the whole thing. So being that's the case, like with the whole fragment thing, so we go into Pluto, which is a part of ourselves, which is what I'm trying to say here, like the whole fragment thing. This is a part of ourselves that wants to have power. It's just real. It's all about power. Power, and also transmuting power or powerlessness. And that's Pluto. Pluto teaches us to be real. Um, for you, it was in the sign of Virgo. It was in the second house. That's, of course, this is the imprint of when you were born. So, excuse me. Um, I get gassy. I have Moon in Aquarius. So, I have Moon in Aquarius. Oh, that's right. Do you get gassy? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's totally fine. Um, okay. I realized I wasn't really recording part of the.
Oh,
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 okay.
darn it.
That's okay. We'll keep going. We'll keep going.
Yeah.
If it doesn't record, then what I'll do is I'll make an introduction before this one. That's fine. I'll just. Yeah, it's okay. It
Okay.
means that I'm learning. Okay,
Yes, you're doing
so
great.
uh, it adds a tinge of perfectionism to your personality, at least to your identity. You There's a part that wants to just be like actually clean. Part of you, I don't know. There's something about the link between like part of your personality and identity as a human being, at least this far, of course. Um, and Pluto adds that flavor to it, where it's like, yes, it's about power, but the reason I'm mentioning Pluto here is because Pluto is one of the rulers of Scorpio. Maybe communicating in detail. Um, Part of it also means that your relationships, or at least how you want to have these cathartic relationships or cathartic connections and experiences, namely through self-expression and the idealism, is influenced by that Virgo energy, which is perfectionism, pedanticalness. I don't know if that's the word, pedanticism, but right, and hard work as well, service as well. So you like this. There's a part of you that wants to expand that to others, and especially when they're close to you, especially when they mean a lot to you, or when at least when you were younger. You wanted that. It's almost like you also got to be perceived as maybe someone who's critical, someone who's critical, or it's almost like you knew what you were talking about, but at times it's like, especially depending on who you talk to, they'd be like, okay, I don't want to be corrected, right? So you must have done that when you were younger, quite a lot. Um, it's just part of your personality because it's how you show you care. That's part of Virgo, and you look at the little
Oh,
things as well. Sorry.
I'm so sorry. I was just saying, oh.
Oh, yeah. So, but there's another thing I didn't mention here. Because your sun was in the fourth house, you also have that very protective nature about you. You're Cancer as well. There's a Cancer about you as well. This is the thing that a lot of
Oh,
people miss. Even in astrology, there's no such thing as like one point and that's it. Everything is connected. So there is that Cancer part of your personality. You like to be comfortable as well. You like to be home is important. Home is actually, yeah, it's literally where it's gonna. Home is where the heart is. This is literally to you. This is part of your uh, cosmic, or I guess you can say faded belief in a way, kind of like your little mantra. See, home is where the heart is. At least that's what I'm seeing here. But home is where the heart is out there as well. It's like here and there. So you kind of there's a part of you that wants to bring that to the environment that you're in, even relationship. It kind of extends out into relationships.
yes.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I think that's. And then we look into the aspects. So your sun is 22 degrees. It was trying to your north node. So if you don't, I don't know if you know much about the nodes, north and the south nodes. Um,
I
but
don't.
okay, that's okay. That's totally fine. I don't know palmistry, so I don't know much. I'm still in your mediumship, so whatever. We're all learning. That's totally fine. Because it was trying to your north node. Um, it means that you naturally, what do you call this? It's specifically with your Sun and Mercury. So it's your North Node is basically the unknown path that's ahead of you. So being a trine to Sun and Mercury here, it's almost like the more you express yourself, the more you are communicating with people and really being like expressive, which ties into your ascendant Leo. Um, it it helps you move forward as you learn into like what's ahead of you. Because usually the opposite of it, the south node is what we're really like. It comes to us easily. Skills that we have obtained from past lives. This is the south node. This is like for you. It's like you're used to being technical with things. You're used to kind of analyzing it and being organized and being, everything has to be like this order, but not to the point where you're telling people exactly what to do. But in a way, you do it through service, so you're very used to that. It's actually comfort zone for you. It's something that you're so like bam, I know what to do. You also know how to see little things in detail. You're very detail oriented. That's a huge skill in the past. Um, and you're very focused on like getting things like you want things a matter of fact. You're also good possibly with things with the earth, anything to do with the earth, but particularly little things with the earth, like maybe like not necessarily huge like farming, but because maybe like planting, gardening, maybe that comes a little bit natural to you. Um, Particularly with medicine. Medicine for you is like, I get it.
Yeah.
You know how, yeah, you probably know how to work a lot with like plant medicine, herbs, uh, any sort of elixirs, this kind of thing. It's very Virgo, right? Alchemy is also part of that. You know how to alchemize things a little bit more on a sort of a personal, emotional level. So you kind of, this is part of that. So you carried, but the thing is now you want to move forward into the North Node, which is, it's referred to as the head of the dragon, and the south is the tail of the dragon. So it's forward looking. That's where we're supposed to head, which is in Pisces, meaning you really it's you embrace the unknown. However, because it's trying again to your sun Mercury, it's almost like you're like, yeah, I'm okay with the unknown. Totally okay with it. However, there is a part of us that's like, let's say someone you let's say you come across someone or you meet someone or you run into a situation where you're like maybe it's like actually challenging you to be how do you call this? Maybe it pulls you back towards your past, like your soft mode. What happens is that it almost feels like there's a part that's like, I'm not really fulfilling much. Okay, this is comfortable, I can do it. But then no, I want more. So for you, when this comes naturally to adapt to new things, to adapt to what's unknown, be open to that. But it's like almost like, but sometimes it gets trying aspects in astrology kind of make us lazy because we're not. Yeah, because it's so for you, it's so easy to be just like, oh yeah, I know how to do it. I know what this is. I know, but it's all almost like mental rather than subconscious. It's more conscious than subconscious. The subconscious is like most likely it's like the north being like it feels good. It's a good kind of scary. Okay, yeah. But because of the sun there, it's almost like maybe part of your ego, part of the pride thing goes like, yeah, I know, I'll be ready for it. And then when it gets too comfortable, it's almost like, oh right, that's right, onward, right? So,
Yeah.
hmm. um, so yeah, so there's that aspect to the sun, but we're focusing more now on the north node. Um, I'm actually going to go into the other chart here. So now it's going to north node. There we go. Okay. So the north node also has, I don't know if you could see it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There's this right here. So there was a trine to your sun Mercury, but there's also a
Wow.
trine here from sun Mercury to Orcus. Now, who the hell is Orcus? First of all, um, Orcus is a dwarf planet in astronomy, and it is a little bit beside Pluto. It revolves around the sun just as far as Pluto does. It's a little bit farther than Pluto, just a little bit, I think. No, actually, no, it's not. It's around the same orbit. It's actually in the same orbit. But they actually kind of like, Orcus is said to be the antithesis to Pluto. So where Pluto is all about being, being real and embracing the rot, embracing the trauma, being honest with yourself, and all those things. And Pluto is almost like it teaches you to like be powerless, Um, Orcus kind of does the opposite. Not really opposite, but it's like teaches you to be honest. It's not about the power anymore. It's about honesty, it's integrity. So it's kind of like a part of Pluto that is like, because Orcus is in. Do you know that you know about the Etruscans?
I've heard of it. I've
Okay,
heard of it.
yeah, Orcus is their underworld god, the Etruscans.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, but he's all again. He's always about. He's about oaths, things that you promise. Where you say you promise yourself, your contract. You say to yourself like, "Oh yeah, I know this." Things that we claim to be true and specific on an emotional level and subconscious level, where it's like Orcus is like, there's a part of us that is. Is it? Am I being honest? It's almost like a conscious Pluto. It's almost like a conscious side of Pluto that goes like, ah, I don't know if there's a part of you that senses that, where it's like, is this really what I want? You know, it's like it's just there's a part of you that questions things because you said earlier that I chose this. Therefore, if you choose something, what are you going to do about that? That's Orcus. It's integrity. Um,
Oh,
yeah. So this Orcus is very powerful when we learn to work with it on a more subconscious level because it's if we don't, if we're not, if we lack integrity, it bites us in the ass, right?
yeah.
So with retrograde though, when you were born, you had Orcus retrograde, so you didn't really know how to work with that energy yet. It was kind of delayed. There's a part of you that goes like, I don't know if that's what's good for me, or at least whenever you're in a sort of community, a sort of a group setting, any any places where you made friends, you hung out with people, it was a social gathering or whatever. That's 11th house, and Orcus was in Cancer there. So with Orcus being in Cancer, typically what that means is emotional honesty, emotional like integrity with yourself. But again, because it was retrograde when you were younger, um, that was like, well, how to work this? I don't know. So maybe kind of went along with you just went along with what groups had. Like kind of just like, okay, I'll do what you do. I'll do what you do. I'll do what you do. Does that resonate?
Yeah, I understand that. I remember that when I was younger. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So and with it being trine to the Sun Mercury uh, in Scorpio and then your North Node, it's almost like you felt like, oh, I'm gonna move this way. I'm gonna move in this direction, but I don't know if it's something that I really want. It's almost like there's a part of you just like, I'm just gonna go with it, and it feels for now natural. And then so there's a part of you that's just like, but there's also an inner part of you just like, is this? So you were always being. It was comfortable for you to move in that direction of the belief that this is what I want, but there's a part of you that was like, I don't know. It's almost like you were doubting it. Yeah, and that kind of helped in a way that kind of uh, stalled your truer any truer potential. I said truer because it's not there's no absolute. Right? Your truer potential. So, but as you got older, this Orcus, I would probably see this. I'm going to check it. We'll see later whether it's off retrograde. Because if it's off retrograde now, literally as of today, how much you progress, it shows that it's like, okay, now you know how that energy works. It's a little bit more expressed. Back then, it was like more like there was a doubt inside. It's like, what is integrity? What is that? What is that? What do I want? What do I want? Right? Because the sun is also related to what we want. It's our desire, because it's what makes us shine. It rules the heart. In medical astrology, it rules the heart, this chest area, upper back. So
Oh,
when yeah, I think it's also connected to the solar plexus. So if we're not connected, our vitality goes like it's just low. That's the sun. It's vitality. So,
that makes sense. Okay.
and it's also about being creative. Vitality, creativity, they're strongly tied to each other. Um, Yeah, so there's that. With the North Node being in Pisces, we already see where its ruler is. Well, I didn't. It's what do you call this? It's where in a sign, this is where the planet feels at home. But rulership, that's rulership. But when we say like this rules this planet rules this, it just means that's what it's about. That's all. Um, so with Mars being the other ruler of Scorpio, it's right here in Aquarius. We're going to go back into the Mars thing and how that ties into your identity, your sun. Um, Here, the moon is this is the moon is slightly different from the sun, which is still part of our identity, but it's the I don't know how to say it. It's the non-analytical side of us. It's technically the left. Is it the left brain? Right brain, and the left brain is the hold on. For men, the right eye. This is the sun, and for women, this is the sun. So your left eye is your sun.
Oh,
So if you had any, let's see, what does, did you have any issues? Maybe not necessarily sight, because if it's, okay, if it's inheritance, that could still be physical. So it could be that, so your left, so the sun, your left eye with, do you feel like, because Mercury rules this area, the arms, the hands. Do you feel like sometimes when you are, uh, either overthinking something or not thinking about it? I would say when you're not really thinking about it, it's really highly intuitive. It's almost like perception. The perception you have of things makes you more alive. Like it kind of like it adds to that, makes you want to go as well. Because Neptune rules the nervous system. So do you feel like that when you feel like you're running on be expressive? Do you write poetry as well? Have you done that? Like anything with words, writing, or
I write a lot, like journaling, but no, I've never been really good at poetry.
okay? I'm just wondering. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, there's something about writing here, and then the hands, and then the heart, and also the nervous system. Is, but they're not good, or at least like generational. Uh, Either it could go either way. Like generational, could be straightforward diseases or health, like your immune system, for example. Um, Yeah, we'll look into that later. With this, any sort of work that you do, particularly with maybe when you were younger, I see here core together with. I'm just going to summarize what this means. I feel like I'm going too much into too much detail. I know that's okay
Here's
with you.
the,
Okay,
oh, yes.
so Ixion and core together. This is really common for people's charts. I see this often. They have Ixion core together. They're in conjunction. So it's like they seem to go together. I don't know why, but um, what that usually means is like living life itself, like to the fullest. What makes you happy. Um, Sometimes, depending on what's happening, it could also be that there might be violations, sort of, and but you still get second chances when let's say you don't get what you exactly. There's a Ixion is hard to explain, and it's kind of hard to quantify because Ixion is a part of us that wants to just do whatever the fuck you want. Sorry to say that,
Yeah.
but that's what it is. Ixion is that, especially in Scorpio. Um, like hard work it's kind of like it's at least for you, it's hard work in terms of like your studies, or at least when you were younger. It was like you were very much committed to that, as long as it made you happy. Whatever thing made you happy and gave you bliss and make you sort of flow with life. That's core. Core is about, it's really the rhythm. It's like the, what do you call that? The soul fire, so to speak. It's let me explain this one. It's it has a lot to do with rhythm. So I don't know. So you journaled even when you were young. Did you ever get into some sort of drumming or anything rhythm related when you were young? Any sort of, and even ceremonies?
So dancing, right? Rhythm.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I was a
Okay.
yeah, I'm a dancer. I
Okay.
grew up dancing, and that's my passion.
Very
Always
good.
entertaining and dancing.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Okay, so there you go. And that kind of like that really gave you pleasure because you have Venus there, and it's part of your.
yeah.
It became part of your sensuality. How you become like this kind of really expressive being. It's Venus is like Mercury, where Venus is also about transmission, but it's more about relationship and what we value, things that are worth to us. Um, but there could have been some health issues with the area, but also the sexual organs. Um, Ceres rules, uh, it's epigenetics, so our DNA. And the moon is similar to that, but the moon is more about like around the stomach area. So I don't know if you had issues when you were younger, uh, whether you were something. Let me take a look. Sedna. This is okay. This is good. This is a good challenge. Sedna here is also square the moon and Ceres and Mars, whilst with and conjunct Saturn. Okay, so I'm breaking this down. So Sedna is part of us that is understands that even though we can't do anything about something, sometimes the best way is to surrender to it and really let go. Sedna is actually the higher vibration of Ceres, and Ceres is the higher vibration of the moon. So with Sedna being the highest vibration of the three, it's embracing everything. Sedna is in the Inuit mythology. She was the sea goddess or creation goddess. She's like Gaia, almost. But she deals with waters. She deals with cycles. She deals a lot with yeah, that absolute forgiveness thing. Let me go deeper into this one. I have a cheat sheet. Um, yeah, so against the grain, she was because she the mythology she was against her father. Like she felt obligated to help her father, but later when she was visited by this man who was actually a raven, or in other versions of the myth, she's another type of bird. He's another type of bird, but he comes in the guise of a human, and what that represents is like escape from responsibility, escape from norm. If we looked at the planet Sedna today, Sedna is the farthest known planet in astronomy today, like way out there. Each planet revolves around the sun. Certain, it passes through the whole. It passes through each sign in the zodiac, astrologically speaking, for a certain number of years. Um, but in total, a lot of them, like, for example, Mercury is the fastest. So Mercury is the one that's, I think Mercury is only about, it's close to like the sun itself. So more than 30 days, for sure. Yeah. But if you go all the way to the farthest planet, which is Sedna, she revolves around the sun, the whole zodiac, all 12 zodiac signs, about over 1100 years, 4,000. So her revolution around the sun is quite long. But she's coming back now, and she's reintroducing things that we've had before, but also bringing in reality with mythology. So there's something that said that in the part of our psyche, the part of our fragmented self, that is, it's really about, forgiveness, acceptance, but one that bears fruit, because it's like It's a complete trust in the universe. So maybe for you, it's almost like when you were young, because it wasn't like uh, uh, time, karma, limitations, conservation, hard work, all those kind of things. Fear as well. Because if you look at Saturn, it's the part of it that's like, I'm going to hold off for now. Stop. Like we create boundaries. This is Saturn. Um, but like a hard sort of like boundary. It's like, no, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna give in until I know it's actually feasible, it's practical, it's all those things. With it, Mahjong said that it's almost like there was this, you knew how to naturally be, or at least there was a part of you that had to continuously work towards, like to, it's almost like you had a hard time being disciplined, not necessarily disciplined, but there's a sort of a limitation that you had, but it was kind of, it felt more like it was imposed or you were imposing it on yourself and you didn't know how to work with that energy because it's Saturn retrograde. There's a feeling of insecurity with that. With any retrograde, there's a insecurity because it's like, so it's almost like you had to force yourself to be disciplined in your studies.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
So, so with that thing that you had when you were dancing here, it's almost like there are times that you had to work so hard at it, but then that led to possible injuries. Does that resonate?
Oh, I had a problem with my knees would get water. They'd get really swollen a lot with that. That was a problem I had my whole
Oh, okay,
life.
that makes
When I was,
sense.
yeah, when I was little, my knees would get swollen from dancing a lot.
Okay.
Uh,
Hmm. Was okay because then Saturn rules the knees, bones.
oh,
Yeah, that makes sense. But swollen, that kind of makes sense with Sedna as well. Sedna, okay, she rules blubber, like whales. So okay, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. Kind of like inflammation. Okay,
yeah.
I should put. Did I put that in here? Suppressive metabolism. Okay, there you go. She rules metabolism, growth hormones, the glands, maybe also, endocrine system, and a bunch of other things. Circulatory system, possibly, blood, liver, urinary system. Um, so yeah, but there could also be have like typically you have this combination where you naturally on any given day you have this sort of like I would say let's take a look at the reproductive system and also the head, but then the moon rules the breast area, the stomach, digestive system.
Oh,
So, but I would say for you, let's take a look. It probably was tip on the beginning. You're quite. I don't want to sound offensive, but like fertile.
yeah, yeah,
Hard
that
to
makes
say.
sense.
Yeah. Um.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's yeah. Ceres here also rules the reproductive system, so digestive system, just like the moon. But she's more in the DNA level. Um. With the moon, there's something else that the moon rules here. Let me double check. So breast, stomach, digestion. Ah, okay. So for you, female, you're the right eye. Moon, sun for you. Your moon is right, your right eye. Your sun is your left eye. You didn't have any. Um, oh no, that's just that. Okay, that's fine. I thought there was like a square to the sun. Okay, sorry. I'm just sometimes I get distracted when I look at certain things. digestive system, lymphatic system, nervous system. The stomach. Yeah, the moon is also nervous system because the moon is about vibration. Um, so we already talked about the fact that you said you get gassy, right?
Yeah.
Do you sometimes get gassier when you're active or too active?
I feel like it's when I'm not
When you're not active.
active.
Okay. Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Mars in Aquarius also means that you have these sporadic changes to maybe like headaches. It's almost like you get random headaches, or maybe like not necessarily headaches, but it can happen, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Headache.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
When I was little, I used to get bloody noses a lot. I don't know if that would.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's Mars. Yeah, Mars rules. Mars rules accidents. Uh, how do you call this? Accidents, scars, cuts, bruises, wounds, physical wounds. Um, but because they're in conjunction, it's almost like you were able to manage and learn how to actually get better at that. And maybe you came up with inventive ideas on how to deal with your own, like, I don't know, uh, accidents that you got through or something like, you adapted to it. And you're just like, okay. And you kind of took a more analytical, scientific approach to it. So, what else? I was going to go with this sextile right here, but I feel like it's a natural flow that you know how to work with your pain and you transform through your pain. In this case, it's freedom. Chiron is a big one. Chiron is rules. It's a wounding, but it's in retrograde, so that means that you continuously experience it, even to this day. Questioning of your own freedom, ability to be a leader, maybe doubting yourself. Am I supposed to lead and help people? Am I supposed to set a standard? Am I meant to have this? It's almost like there's a part of it just like how there's a questioning of like I can't be in the moment because there's something else that's bothering me sometimes, or it still gets to me sometimes, or and there's that wounding of like I because of your placements, particularly with the ascendant. I believe it was the ascendant. No, 1 second. Yeah, because of your Mars in Aquarius, Mars rules Aries. So um, winning has a lot to do with loss of freedom because you feel this part of you feels an obligation to help others, and that ties in with your past experiences, like the part of you that's your shadow, this part of you that suppressed that disowned, rejected, service. So it feels like an obligation instead of like a desire. So you wanted to be more focused on no me, right? So therefore, there's that wounding. It's like I can't be myself. I don't know. That's the general gist of Chiron retrograde in Aries. But opposite of it in Pluto and Aquarius and Uranus right here, um, self worth was a huge part of it for sure, and it constantly changed and it constantly kind of you had to work with the power struggles and figure out why is it that I'm trying to be myself and you know figure out my purpose by still being myself, but then I'm getting pulled at this whole no service, service, service. You gotta be service. You gotta give help to other people. Especially with this Pluto here being in critical degrees, it's almost like this huge pull. It's like you know, um, in a general sense, it's almost like the part of you because of your Sun in Scorpio, that Pluto side of you goes like I have to. It almost like you had to prove your worth by being powerful, by being service. It's almost like it gave you that power. But in truth, it's almost like well, there is. It's you have to learn how to balance that. basically. Give and take. Right? It's not, as Teal Swan said, it's not really about. You can't. It can't be about what's that word? Something similar to middle ground, like finding a halfway point. But it's not about that. It's about accommodation. She calls it the zero sum game, or she refers to the term zero sum game when we're sacrificing our needs, and the other person is sacrificing their needs just to kind of meet halfway. That's not right. It has to be win-win, meaning there's a third option. So that's the general thing. Does that resonate?
Heck yeah, that's exactly, you nailed it, exactly what I'm dealing with right now in the moment.
Still, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you do shadow work?
Yes. Oh yeah, I've done all my shadow work. What I mean is I'm having a hard time being coming out, yeah, my beliefs and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
just like you said. Yeah.
Coming out of the spiritual closet?
Yeah, no, showing myself, like, putting myself out, the service thing, like yeah, exactly what you said. It's hard for me to put in words too.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And that's usually the thing with Mercury Mercury fits well with Gemini and Virgo. They know how to express yourself eloquently, so to speak. Does that mean it doesn't come out in different ways? For Scorpio, that form of communication is more through. It's more through sexuality, sexual power, not sex, right? Sexual power, and that is that whole. Describe sexual power. It's an intense connection. It's related to catharsis. It's that whole, like, it's vibration as well. This is why probably for you this it's your journey now is in the North Node, which is in Pisces. So you're more. It actually kind of is gearing you towards vibrational communication.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Exactly.
With Scorpio, it's more about not just intuition, actually more instinct than intuition. But it's definitely both because it's
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So um, what else was there? You jump from there. There's a connection between that. Okay, I'm gonna jump into the other chart. What's this one? So past life stuff, right? We're kind of
Oh yeah.
okay. Cool. Oops.
Oh yeah. Very.
Um, I'm trying to make sure I don't show you, but you pop up somehow. That's okay. What I'm going to do is
Okay.
I'm going to look at those sections. Okay. I'm going to
Do
try
I
to
have?
cut it. Sorry, go ahead.
So you'll be cutting this part right here.
I'll be cutting
This one.
the part that you are in. Like if you.
Well, would I have a chance to grab a drink of water then?
Oh yeah, of course.
Like, okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
I have Mercury in Scorpio too. So don't worry.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Just let me know when you're ready.
Oh, I'm ready. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know didn't know I wasn't there.
No, it's okay. No. I can't. I had to block it. That's okay. Okay. Here you go. So you see this one. I think you see the right screen. Go into. I'm gonna go into this one. This one first. So what questions did you have about past lives specifically? Like, do you want to go into the what do you call that? The like your galactic past lives?
Uh,
Do you know about
well, yeah.
do you know
Uh,
about like you know
oh,
like for example like Pleiadians? You know about those things like the other.
oh, yeah. Is there? I don't know if you're. Oh, yeah. Heck yeah. Are you able to tell like if I'm a starseed, like where I'm from and all that stuff,
Uh,
or no?
Generally, yes.
Well,
Based on the at least what I saw was the more recent one. Um, what I can do is look into like the most recent past life that you were in.
yeah.
Um,
Okay, that
it's
would be
based.
great.
Okay,
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry.
No, no, it's okay. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was told I had a past life as an Egyptian with my daughter, and we were mother and daughter then too, and I was wondering about that life possibly, or how I died. And
Oh,
I was told yeah, I died young. I died when she was like 5, I guess. And I was wondering,
was it a channeling as like a psychic reading?
yeah, it was a
Oh,
psychic reading.
okay. Well, let's see what the charts say.
Yeah. Oh,
But
okay. I wasn't quite sure how this works.
well, that's okay. It's the thing is a little tricky with it's a little trickier with astrology because for me, in my experience up to this point, um, I've actually done charts where I looked up like there's this other website that I forgot to look into where I could actually tell which uh, constellation or fixed star was conjunct your all the way from your sun to Pluto.
Mm.
So,
Yeah,
mhm. So
yeah.
I actually look. I'll look into that. You know what? I'll look into that.
Galactic thing, that's all interesting too. I'm up for anything. Anything you can.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's take a look at. Okay, tell me. I can't. I'm going to be lazy. I'm going to use you for a second there. So, um, October 30, right?
My birthday?
Yeah.
No, it's November.
Oh, sorry.
My birthday is November 14th, 69.
Okay. And what was the time again?
11:48 p.m.
8 p.m. Okay, and this. Okay, sorry. You can tell me the city. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. St. George, Utah.
Ah, yes. Okay. Some sites spell it with an S like an actual saint word, and then some spell it with ST. Some without the
Yeah,
dot. Some weird.
it's supposed to be ST dot. Yeah,
Ah, okay.
yeah.
So I'm gonna go open up this fixed star one. This one's gonna show up in the video. You might not see it right now,
Okay.
but let's take a look. Okay. So your most recent one is Hadar, based on this chart that you already see right now. Hadar is actually similar to my one of my older past lives. I didn't see it like through channeling. I saw it just through my chart, which to me it's the same thing. Just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean it's actually true. Um, Hadar here, right here. This is actually not Hada, like it's Hadar. It's also called Alpha Centauri. Is that fixed star? This is apparently from what I know about this one. This is the fixed star that had it was all about love, like literally like unconditional, um, being able to just be who you are, no labels, not even gender. There wasn't any gender labels. Very like calm and peaceful. They worked a lot with nature. It's almost like the, I wouldn't say like Lemuria, but they were apparently this beautiful civilization and also apparently beautiful people. um,
Huh.
and they were in the Centauri, the Centaur constellation. So I don't know how many light years from here, but what happened was apparently the thing that happened with their culture is that they got invaded by and this is going to be a stereotype. Not all draconians are bad, but unfortunately, most of them turned. Um, so with the draconians, they actually they enslaved the Hadarians. So there was like trauma. It's a passed on trauma. So people today who have like this sort of experience of oppression or being fearful of oppression, being controlled, overpowered, anything to do with tyranny, anything to do with abuse, rape, you name it, all Plutonian stuff. This is people. There, you can see it in people's charts. Hadar is there. You were in a past life there. At least some past life.
Wow.
Does that resonate with you? Do you feel kind of current to that energy still? Because it's your most recent life, at least.
When you said abuse,
Yeah.
I was wondering if that might be how I died, actually. I feel like something happened with my neck or something. Yeah, I do. I wondered if I was abused in that life.
With your neck.
Yeah, I wondered why. Yeah, why I always have issues. Like if in a movie, if somebody gets choked or their neck gets slashed, I literally
You react.
can't swallow or breathe. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. No,
crazy.
that's understandable. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a past life thing. What did we have? I have another chart here which shows. Hold on
It's very interesting. Wow.
Yeah. If it's. Hold on. If I'm looking at your south node, so 18 degrees. 18 degrees in Virgo. Actually, no. Ah, I know what. Oh, wait. Okay. Wait a second. Wait a second. Okay, 18 degrees here. There's a reason why I did these focal points charts. Every chart is different because of the situation, right? So it's just, north of 18 degrees. Okay. So what could have happened? This one shows a lot. This one's heavy. I saw this with your south node. Your south node is not showing up here really, but it is here. It's around 18 degrees Virgo, so around here. So we have Delphine, we have Pele, Lamea, Ganymede, and Myra and Amalthea. Okay. Delphine is a part of us that visions. Delphine is actually. No, I'm gonna go. So it's about true or false visions. It's a part of us that kind of goes through like lies and deceits and gossip. Like it's misunderstood. It's almost like it's really about gossip. But when gossip happens, it's because people like how would you describe gossip? Isn't it from this? Like, why do we gossip in the first place? Why do we spread rumors?
But probably due to jealousy and insecurity about within yourself, probably.
Yeah,
I would guess.
yeah, because of like when you're especially when when you're someone who has a lot of gifts or talents, people will say the opposite of it. Yeah, so it is jealousy. It's rooted in jealousy. Yeah, you're right. So that means it's tied to. It's almost like manipulative retribution, um, because they're trying to get back at you for something they're completely insecure about themselves. So what this shows in terms of like your past life, right here, is that there could have been something to do. There could have been something with people judging you or misunderstanding your gifts, um, and also completely like rejecting that. But there was also like a passionate like anger about it because Pele is there. Pele is the Hawaiian goddess of volcano. specifically mastery, passion. So in this case, there was probably like disputes or struggles in the past life. There could also have been like um, people who just were so insecure about themselves. Possibly, I don't know. I don't know if there's draconian planet there, but or a fixed star. But actually, you know, let me take a look. Virgo. Let's see when. Oh, okay. Here we go. Here we go. Apple, Asterian. I don't know those. 26. No. Second. Okay. Okay. We have, yeah, we have one. I see one here. One fixed one called Zavijaya. I don't know what that is. I think it's Draconian. Points from the constants of Virginus. No, it's not. What else am I seeing here? Alcade. Because if it was conjunct your south node, must have been something there. So we have Alcade, but Savijaya. Also, needs creativeness, high performance in business, government, fondness of power. Okay, that ties in with the power. Victory over enemies. There's the Pele thing as well. Good fortune negatively creates calamities, disasters, fanaticism, sublime illness, ruthlessness, turbulence. Something about distress and bereavement. It's like Mercury and Mars, so very aggressive communication, very aggressive way of talking, maybe abuse, verbal abuse. So I'm still new to the fixed stars because they're quite very weird the way they interpreted them in ancient Rome. There's this guy called Ptolemy. He was all like about astrology, and he energy vampirism, sexual veracity, hauntings, the monsters in the closet, uh, you know, boogeyman, deep-seated loss and suffering because she lost her children. I think in the story Lamea, the gods stole her children, or one of the gods stole her children. So she was very much like complete opposite of that. Instead of completely being full of love, she was like she basically killed her children. So it's a lot about like womb issues. It could be abortion. It could be um, miscarriages. So in terms of your past life, it could have been something like that kind of emptiness syndrome, or you could have been surrounded by unexpected or unwanted servitude or service, intoxicating beauty. It might also have something to do with like maybe you said you were young, right? When you died.
Yeah, in my 20s, I believe.
Yes, Ganymede is a youth as well. It's about youth and youthfulness. He was like in his late teens when he became a servant to Zeus, as a cupbearer. So, oh, gifts and brought. Someone tampered with your lifeline. Someone maybe you were not supposed to end. You're not supposed to die right away. Maybe someone. I don't know. I wouldn't say necessarily it's a fate thing. Yeah, so go ahead. Yeah.
Like kill.
Lifespans, distances. So in this case, it makes sense. It was short and also small because prophets, or maybe had this prophetic gifts. Or you just probably like a simple visionary, like a wise kid. You just, but you were misunderstood. Full of like, it could have been one. It could have gone one way or the other. One is that you probably had all these abilities, natural gifts and abilities, and yes, people were jealous of that. Or it could have been that you were the opposite. It was probably was the opposite. You were the one who, but it's not. It's in conjunction, so it most likely is that you were the one being used rather than you using. Um, Death, possibly.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I just have this thing with my neck and this
Okay,
every
so
it's so crazy. It's so
mm,
crazy.
well, I don't know. In the past life, then it could have been something else. Then it could have been that you definitely like
No, it
challenge
could
cycles. Sorry.
it could have absolutely been that in a past life. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm following you. It's resonating.
Yeah. It's hard to go into the past life stuff through the fixed stars, but fixed stars do show quite a lot. I'm still new to it. Like whenever I go into the fixed stars, I have like this cheat sheet that's like it's just it's still yeah. But what I
Yeah.
can tell though is that um, oh, let's go back to the other ones. The most recent one, like I said, is from Hadar. Um, but you know what? Let's go into so Hadar is there, and then you have Venus, Jupiter. Sorry, there's more that you see right now. So that means that oh, you have like similar placements, like what I have. Okay,
Oh,
yeah, sort of similar. So you have your sun in uh, right here. It's probably like very blurry from your antic creativity, and he's translate to like maybe like jealousy and all that stuff. Um, but Apollo is like Apollo. Let me describe this one. Go back into my cheat sheet. Okay. So Apollo is the love of light. He rules prophecies. Um, oh, that's probably where it's connected to. Oops. Okay. Oh, that actually ties in more with the prophecy stuff. So you actually have this ability to see things, like your high intuition already. I can tell because you also have predicts. Predicts is not actually intuition. Predicts is technicalities. Predicts is this natural ability to structure everything. Predicts is like our technical ability that is like like an engineer.
oh yeah.
So innovation as well. Okay. Are you okay?
Oh yes. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened with my throat there when I started talking about that stuff. It's weird.
Hmm. Do you wear any stones like for the shoulder, the throat?
I don't. I
Oh.
probably should.
I wear blue topaz once in a while, and that boosts my communication. For some reason, I love it. Blue topaz. Love it.
Wow. I will do that.
Yeah, it's actually your topaz is the birthstone of Scorpio.
I used to have a blue topaz ring and I sold it in my stupid younger days. Now I wish I wouldn't have. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's so interesting.
yeah. The one I have is I'll show you how beautiful it is. It's like this exact thing that Scorpio wants. It's like mystery. I don't know if you could see it.
Wow. Yes. Beautiful.
It's like clear waters, and
Oh,
that speaks exactly to the energy that Scorpio desires, which is like honesty, right? It's like a see-through beautiful crystal. I don't know. I want to get some more, but it's yeah, it's
wow. That is really cool.
yeah. So that might help too if you want. And enhance it with some I've been buying a lot of like crystals that are like that enhance psychic abilities. Like labradorite is a common one.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, it's a mixture of blue, green, black, gray sometimes. It's like interesting. It's from Canada actually, because I'm from Canada.
Oh,
Yeah, you find it here in the East Coast. Um, that enhances psychic abilities. Lemurian seed. You get a Lemurian seed. It looks like clear quartz, but it's a little. It's not like quartz. Quartz is a little bit. How to describe it? They look similar, but so. Yeah. But anyways, the ones for the throat is light blue in color. I don't know if you know
oh.
about that with the colors. Like there's the chakra here is light blue, right? So you wear light blue stuff.
I love the turquoise blue color. It's my favorite.
Oh, that speaks to
Yeah.
your Neptune. You have the Neptune.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It reminds you of the seas and that kind of stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
you. In a way, you could be a little bit more Piscean than Scorpio at times.
Oh,
But you still are like Scorpio. The energy there is pretty strong. Scorpio is a fixed sign, so fixed sign means that it's like it's steadfast, courageous, like consistent. With the throat thing, let me go. Actually, let's finish this one here. So you have the currently, I would say you're still probably experiencing many things like that you carried through as part of your like foundation, your home life, part of probably also part of your core beliefs, which is like, but it's more about like the gifts that you inherited. I think it's passed down because this is about the fourth house, is DNA, and so. Huh. Okay, let's start with first of all. Okay, so Apollo is this part of it is I would say this the one that ties in with this one is the premonitional abilities, but kind of more in a technical way. Horus is the Horus right here is it actually Horus? Let me double check. Yeah, Horus is the clairs, the five clairs.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, with it being in close, with it being conjunct Mercury, do you are you do you have sensitivity to your hands sometimes?
Um,
Like when you sense energy, do you sense energy through your hands, your arms?
I could. I just sense energy
Okay, so
around me.
okay, so there's a
Yeah.
Neptune thing as well. But Mercury is also nervous system. So okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Usually it's primarily the hands and arms though. But yeah, okay, that makes
Mm.
sense. Heracles is in a way this shows then that it's something that you have to work on, but you naturally work on. Heracles was Hercules, right? So Heracles is all about um, I don't have the information in Heracles right now. I haven't finished my research on because I've been working. I work with like over 100 asteroids, 100,
Oh, okay.
50, something like that. But it's like a lot. So, but Heracles is one of those that I'm still trying to get information on. But based on what I know, based on the mythology, Heracles, I believe, would represent the the trudging, the hard work. It's not really about discipline. It's more like labor and like the things we have to go through and then we kind of go through it like it's almost like the hero's journey, almost. Um, so in a way that kind of ties in with like the things you have to work on for yourself. It's almost because you said earlier, it's like you said I'm not that good at channeling, but I think that if you when you tap into it and you work on it, it will definitely get there. Especially when you have this sort of like you're more like necessarily protective about the way you connect with energies. Here we have Diana, which is about your inner nature, your wild side, your femininity. Okay, this also has a lot to do with autonomy. your sacred sexuality, your inner child as well. Uh, what is it? This explains why you're. Oh, this explains the. You didn't know your father.
Right.
So, so Diana is like Artemis, where it's all about being wild and kind of like it's tied to the moon. But the difference between Diana and Artemis is that Diana is more about the protection. It's more about survival rather than being wild. So Diana knows about getting that sort of security. It's a little bit more like Cancer. Um, but with Valentine here, Valentine is our love language. It's just how we connect through the energy of like love itself, connection. It has to be mutual. Um, so I would say this has a lot to do with the way that became part of your way of communicating, being soft and being like accepting and also having ideals at the same time because you have Neptune there. So this has become part of your whole this whole thing, this whole set. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does make sense.
I forgot to mention Cleopatra. Cleopatra is it's a kind of like an unmet need for intimacy and control or certainty. So I don't know if you probably experienced that a lot growing up.
Experience what?
Like the lack of uncertainty. Like it's this is the one that explains why your father wasn't there because Cleopatra's father was taken away from her, or she was
Oh,
she lost him at a very young age. That's Cleopatra. That's her story.
oh, wow. Yeah.
So that ties in with yours. Now I get it. Okay, there you go. Now I remember the story. I was like, okay. Yeah, so she had to also seduce her way to life, which ties in also with your Diana there. And not to say
Oh,
that you need to seduce yourself, but it's part of one of your skills.
yeah, exactly. Right on. Oh my God, this is blowing me away.
Okay. So good. So going back into the so with that being the case, that's just like your life now. But I do know that with the Hadar, that's what I see. This other website, I'm gonna look into your oldest life, oldest incarnation, which should
Oh, wow.
be which should technically be Pluto. I don't know why they're not showing it here. No, maybe I should. Okay. I'm gonna go with 1 to 2 degrees orb. Orb is like the distance between degrees and the bottom. Oh, we did go through. Marquette. Marquette was conjunct Pluto. Constellation Argo Navis. So Marquette, nature of Saturn Jupiter, gives idea-wide knowledge, educational work, and voyages. Many of the ability to gain knowledge, and a lot of it is useless, considered while traveling, unexpected criticism, steadfast person. This puts emphasis more on the spiritual nature of the quest, especially as it is close to Zanaya, that starts religious association. So that approach, along with the life of devoted service to others, it ties in with again back to the devotional service. So not only past life were you of that kind of service, but you're probably in that constellation or in that fixed star. I don't know. I have actually some. I'm gonna open up this other book that I have on. I'm gonna see if I can. I'm gonna see if I can find what they look like. We're not sure yet because I only have. It's not opening. I'm gonna go to my file here. appreciate your patience.
Oh, I love it. No, no problem at all. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, thank you. Where's that screen? Okay, let's take a look. Market. See if something pops up. Okay, nothing's coming up with that one. I'm sure I'm going to share that. It's so weird. So I got this book called Alien Races. So Navis, what was it? Because there are times where, like, if I look into my sources, it's like, see what it looks like. But did you ever get descriptions of what you look like in the past when you did the reading? Did they tell you what you look like?
No, it wasn't actually. No, really, all she said was I had a past life with my daughter, and I died when she was about 5.
But this was
That's
on
all she
Earth?
said. She said it was an Egyptian life.
Egyptian.
Yeah.
Look into. I know where to look. We're gonna look into the signs because that shows the places. Hold on, let me see. So I had lots there with Pluto. There was Moira. Okay, let me go back to that chart. No, Pluto. Okay, so we have. Okay, so we have Delphine. Let's see where that is. I have a list of places for that too. So you said, sorry, where was it again?
An Egyptian life.
Oh, so it's not Delphine. Pele. Pele would be Hawaii. No. Romeo. Actually, let's look up Egypt. I'm just gonna type in Egypt. Let's see, where am I gonna get from my list here? Orpheus. Hecate. Oh, that's Lilith. Okay. The Cleopatra, that's the one that's showing up is the Cleopatra. That's the one that's recent. Or at least either it's the one that's recent, like the one with the sun, or it's an older life. Because you have Cleopatra conjuncture Neptune. That explains the Egypt one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's tied to the planets, tied to that planet as well. So that means, yeah, Hadar or something. At least there's a connection with Hadar or something like that. I don't know. I'm not saying that it's actually like on Earth. It could be. Let's take a look again. Let's see. 28 degrees. Wow. Okay. There's more actually. You got a lot in your fourth house. Okay, just like me actually. You have past Neptune. You have Ocelot. You have Sethos. Uh, is that Sisyphus? Yeah, Sisyphus, again Cleopatra, Mnemosyne is part of this. So you have these memories of the at least in an maybe in an older past life, which is like probably you're around, I don't know how. Do you know numerology? Do you know your
Some of it,
some of it? Okay.
like my life path and all that stuff, or
Yeah, they said that if you multiply the life path with 100, that's how long you've been around
what? So my life path is 5.
for
So
500 years.
wow. Huh.
500 years as a human.
Oh,
Or is it? No, 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 no. 500 years as a person, or 500 lifetimes. I think it's more than 500 years. 500 lifetimes. I think that's. I'm not sure, but I believe it's more lifetimes because I've been around. My life path is 11. Um, and I thought about it. It was like, but then I had this one reading where they said most of my life I was like an animal guy. I was like, then that means that 1100 years isn't exactly like human. I mean, like we're talking all of it. So,
right. Wow.
so 500. Okay, 500 lifetimes. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Um,
Wow.
so that's probably why you also feel kind of like already like you know things quite well with all these experiences. But going back to this chart that I see, I'm going to change the um, right here. So Neptune. I have so many windows open. That's mine. I made that choice. So you have this memory of this, like being also betrayed, possibly in a lifetime. You probably were betrayed in Egypt. Um, maybe because there was a lot of struggle that you had to go through. Possibly issues with money and abundance, and also what is that on here? And fortune. There's like a misfortune. Um, but because you have Sethos there, Sethos was Set. He was the brother of Osiris, but Set betrayed him. So Set was jealous of him. So there's a lot of jealousy stories. You have at least two past lives that were about jealousy. It's like,
Oh wow.
it's
And
kind of, yeah.
oh wow.
Because like I said, you have these abilities, right? That's why you have them today. So you probably had them in the past life too. I wouldn't be surprised. Right? Your technicality, your the ability to have the clairs. You have this like. Do you have any? What are your strongest clairs? I feel like they're somewhere up here.
I have psychic dreams that are happening in the moment. I get dreams about the truth. I all of a sudden I'll just know the truth about something in a dream, and I'll be like, I'll wake up and just know. And that also happens with downloads. Also,
Mm,
yeah, I'm pretty psychic. I've been told by several mediums and stuff too.
okay.
Yeah.
I have not done a mediumship session. Uh, like I don't really do it that often, but
Mm.
I try. I do when I
Yeah.
close my eyes, I get images, like vivid images, almost right away.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's weird.
No, I don't mean I'm like a good psychic. I just mean I have those abilities. But yeah, I don't know how to
Abilities.
use them. Yeah.
Ah. Is it something that calls to you? Because I feel like, I mean, you're, I don't know. You have like, right here, you have North Node in Pisces. Okay, it's in the third house right here. So I'm kind of like being in a moment. Mine's in Leo, so it's like, oh gosh, I have to listen to guidance. It's all about angels. It's also about shining and you know, sovereignty, standing my ground, and being. It's really a lot to do with it's that Leo energy, childlike presence, all that stuff. But I have other asteroids there too. But the point is, when I started to follow my North Node more, I feel more content. a lot more than just thinking about contentment. I'm actually like, I feel it's like, oh, okay, open to these things. So it's similar to Pisces. I would say it's kind of like that too, where you're open to the downloads and guidance, and really like I guess you could say being in the ether. But it also means that you also have to be open to communication, being open to relationships, and being able to, in a way, risk take. Being in connection with others, regardless of the outcome, because they're there to, and each relationship is a teacher, right? It's a lesson. So with Jupiter in Libra, that shows to me that that's one of the things that part of your pays off, even though it feels kind of like uncertain, especially with relationships.
Yeah, I get that.
Oh no, no, not Saturn. Sorry, it's opposite of midheaven. Ah, so that means regardless of what people think of you and your reputation, you have to learn how to balance that. Being
Oh,
open and risk
yeah.
taking. There you go. That's the one. I misread it. Sorry. It happens.
Wow, no, you just nailed it with that one. Yes. Oh, wow.
There you
Yeah.
go. And that's part of your journey, being North Node in Pisces. It's really about, uh, yeah, part of that is risk taking, being hurt, unfortunately. But the hurt is not about the hurt. It's nothing to do with you. It's subconscious stuff. It's either childhood, inner child trauma. Being born itself is trauma, right? So I mean, we all go through trauma, different ways, yes, but it's our perception of it that the ego wants to go. Well, my trauma is worse than yours. So in a way, the ego uses that as a form of like, oh, this is not my identity. So that's why we have to be mindful and be like rise above the ego without suppressing it. Because the more we suppress the ego, not just more ego, as Eckhart puts it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Um, so going back to the whole nostalgia, the past, reliving things, history, anything to do with the past. Yeah, I can see lots of planets in your fourth house, like a huge bunch of it, just like mine too. I love history. I love dinosaurs, paleontology. Like especially for me with the my moon in Aquarius, similar to yours. It's like I enjoy documentaries where they show like they discover a planet, and they or like how it was born or like the birth of planets. To me, that's like it's like ooh, it's like the start of something like It's very it, it's that Aquarian, but at the same time Cancer feel to it. So um, I noticed here I forgot to mention. I just noticed right now, which I should probably address, is that you probably had a lot of like relationship issues in elementary school because they and that kind of made you that added to in a way that maybe that could have been the start of why you started feeling nervous or not really yourself around relationship or people. You had to you had trust issues too. You had Venus in Scorpio, um, and part of you also had to maybe work hard at that. Maybe not just like elementary school, but also like with siblings. Um, there was a lot of communicational issues. It's almost like they did,
Yeah.
and that in itself triggered a bit of that sort of like uncertainty within like your stomach area, nervous system. Your surrounding. That's the moon. The moon is magnetism, so it's like maybe there's a part of you that's like, especially when it comes to people, you sense it and you're just like, I don't know. It's like this is the part of you. I think you have uh, where's your activity in the pineal gland when you open that up, but also your nervous system, pineal gland, and also possibly your feet. Do you walk barefoot sometimes?
Yeah, a lot.
Like
In the house, I do. Yeah.
oh, okay, okay. Because if you sense that, there's one way to sense it as well. Um, so you have clairvoyance. It's a yes because of the Mercury there. You possibly also have clairsentience.
Uh, which one's that? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I think I have all of them. I've
You have all the
experienced
okay,
all of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Well, that makes sense too because of Neptune there. So it's like yeah,
Like,
with
as far as the clairaudient, though, I've just heard voices a couple of times, just like little phrases, but it's nothing crazy. But yeah.
I wondered about mine because I was like, I have my Horus conjunct my Mars, actually conjunct Uranus, but that's with the nervous system. Um, but why do I see imaging? I was wondering about that.
Mm.
Like, oh, because of Mercury. Okay, that kind of explains it. But I have to close my eyes. Ah, okay, I close my eyes possibly because of Scorpio. Do you find it when you close your eyes or when you're more in a contemplative state or stillness, especially around water? Do you find you're more sensitive?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That resonates.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. Nope. I was gonna say Aquarius. That's not part of your sun. Yeah. Okay. Do you also have you also had issues with relationships like lust and shadow?
Yes, many. Yeah. Well, not many, but yes, my last one was like that.
Okay. Because maybe there's a potential for abuse,
Yeah.
especially with like the public. If you meet someone in the public or someone, how you relate with them, either romantically or like it's supposed to be fun, but at least when you were young, Nessus is a potential for abuse. It's like yeah, but it's in retrograde, so it's almost like you didn't notice you were being abused, and then once you came to realize that, like you started to kind of figure out, like specifically, like there were probably maybe you had like bosses that were verbally abusive, or at least not upfront about it, but it felt like it, and you kind of
Yeah, so my whole life, my parents were emotionally unavailable and my mom was highly narcissistic.
mhm,
And so, yeah, I did
okay,
have some abuse growing up and then an abusive relationship.
mhm, okay,
Yeah.
because you have here Waldemath Lilith is the final stage of Lilith. I don't know if you're familiar with the story of Lilith. She was the first wife of
Um,
yeah. So the Waldemar Lilith is the latest the final stage, meaning she was the one who came out of the darkness and be like, yeah, I know what I am, I know what I want, I'm whole now, or like at least I understand what wholeness is. So, but this is probably back then when you couldn't maybe know. Is that kind of like um, feedback it's putting? I don't know. I'm not sure to relationships in relationships, and that in itself would technically challenge you in terms of your the path forward. So
that makes sense.
yeah. Um, um, I can see he won't connect with you, like you kind of maybe when you were in years before. Because Clitia is unrequited love, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's romantic. It means that it's a part of us that goes. You work hard at something. You. It's almost like part of you wants that real connection, but then you put in all the work, or you at least you think you perceive that you are, or you think that you are, even if you aren't, or even if you are, it doesn't matter. There's a part of you that goes like it's almost like, well, I'm doing this, but they're not. So there's almost like an imbalance. But with this ability to because it's in conjunction. One of the things about conjunctions is that they usually work together. It's like two cars on the highway going the same direction. And hybris or hubris. I know what I'm proud of. I know what I can offer. And if you don't take it, fuck you. But maybe when you were a kid, you didn't really realize that. It was kind of just like, it was almost like you were continuously forcing relationships or forcing connection or emotional connection in community. But eventually that itself will be released. I'm hoping that it's not going to be retrograde. If we look into, if let's say we were to look into your progression chart, which we can do
Mhm.
quickly right now, but the progression charts that I drew up were uh, only. It's okay. It took an hour and a half from now. That's okay. I'm just letting you know. So here's your progression chart. It's how much you've changed. So the big one is always like a grounded Scorpio. You are more, you're not just tenacious, but you have this like everlasting like, patience. Almost like, and relationships to you have to be continuously like serious. And if they're not there, fine. You're also wiser. You have this energy about you that is like, okay, I've had all this experience. Like I know what to do. You're learning how to deal with certain fears that you have. But it also affects your vitality. Um, maybe you, and not to say that you still have them today, but there might be, if anything happens with like your bones, your skin, knees, a skeletal system, that can affect your vitality.
Uh,
Also,
I did have that happen. Oh, sorry.
sorry, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I did have that happen. Yeah, and with my bones and stuff and accidents.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so that's what's changed now, or changes, and that's how much you've grown. Um, let's see. Mercury-wise, it's in retrograde. So okay, it is in. Let's see here. Actually, let's go back to where the sun is. The sun is in the ninth house. What that means is that I have to go back. Oh, okay. Now I understand. Sorry. But still, sticking to your guns. It's actually conjunct, almost smack dab conjunct, like right close, very close to your Juno, Pallas Athena, actual like birth chart placement. So Pallas Athena and
Ooh.
Juno together is like this, like um, a real understanding and wisdom of committed relationships, because it's in the fifth part of what you come to accept that if there's something that if there's a specific romantic relationship that is more meaningful than just flirting and all that shit, then that's when you're open towards it. Otherwise, you may not be, because it's a kind of like an all or nothing. How does a weaving, meaning connection, interconnectedness, wisdom as well. There's also wisdom from Juno, which is she was Juno or Hera, wife of Jupiter or Zeus. So there's that commitment and loyalty, devotion to marriage, unions, a serious union, a really long term, like for life unions, uh, astrologically speaking, that is. But of course, it only revolves around the Earth. It's not around the Sun, right? But that makes it the fastest. It's just the technicalities of it, but what that signifies is that that's why every month you have like this. You know how people have new moon, full moon, all this, because that's the function of the moon. It's fluctuations, cycles. It's our monthly cycles, and yes, it's tied to menstruation for sure. Um, but it's part of that being human that continues to grow, and grow, and grow, and grow. It's almost like this immediate sort of need to survive. Not really survive, but just live. I don't know how to describe it. It's like that moon energy. It's lunar. So, what do you call it? A committed, committed understanding, like at an emotional level, without having to speak about it, about your own health. It's almost like you're really like you understand how to be healthier now. Because back then possibly too, you like spicier things, but it's a very Aquarius thing. It shocks you. Even like sour. I hate sour. I still love sour. Um, your choices that you make and the things you put in your body and what to do with them. The North Node has now moved to the seventh house. So relationships is something that you are currently being open to. Before it was more about transformations. Now it's more like relationship. But Mars here, well, mind you, by the way, that don't do that. The nodes go backwards. I don't know why.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why. So when you see the nodes and you look back into comparison, like you compare years before, it doesn't have to look backwards. It's clockwise,
Mm.
whilst everything else is counterclockwise. But with Mars conjunct your North Node, action needs to be a little bit more. You're being tested, or your soul is testing you to take action, whatever that may be.
Oh, wow. Yes, it is right now. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
NFTP right now.
Mm-hmm. You're probably also
Mhm.
like learning how to be a little bit more. It's almost like your assertiveness comes through, the willpower comes through, but without actually needing to be angry.
Yep.
Because back then, any sort of anger was. Um,
Yeah.
your Mars also is anger. Usually it's about anger. But Mars in Aquarius is very technical with its anger. It analyzes its emotion, especially even the darker emotion. It analyzes it, and if you have to get angry with this placement, like at least in order to get angry, to express that anger, specific it is, because all manipulation is being able to use something to a certain specific way, in a certain degree. It's not necessarily good or bad. It's just that's manipulation, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, I understand that. Yeah, that was I did kind of manipulate, yes.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Embrace your dark side. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're the second person I talked to with Neptune Sun conjunction. You have a Neptunian personality.
Oh.
If people ask you, it's like, what's your sign? You tell them. I have Pluto conjunct Sun, so I'm pretty much like a Scorpio too. Almost there. Almost.
Yeah.
But not, close but no cigar. So let's see here. So your Chiron return, what year was that?
uh it was 2019. Yeah, 2019 on November 14th, 2019.
So you have Chiron 2 degrees Aries. So I'll have to see. Oh, sorry, 21st.
There we go.
I don't know about you, but like being born in the 20th century, sometimes you feel like the 21st century is kind of like, what century?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
I
don't
get what
know,
you're saying.
like I feel that. I'm just like, I don't know, maybe that's just like energy. I don't know what it is. Okay, let's take a look. So 2019, you got Chiron. Okay, so it's Pisces. Let's go further. 2 degrees. Okay, right here. So around 2019, maybe May, March 31st. Okay, so you started experiencing that then. So that means, let's go with March 31st. Go into your chart. We're going to go backwards. Usually we go forward with these charts, but now it's going to go backwards. Take this out. I'm going to use my regular planets on this side here. Transits. Chiron. Yep, right there. Chiron visited, and it was not in retrograde. And Vesta was there too. Ah, that's why you felt that.
What?
That's why you felt the Kundalini. You had Vesta there, right? Conjure. Can you see the
Um,
page? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, right there. Hmm. Interesting. You also had your sun uh, uh, conjunct Eris then. Well, I haven't talked about Eris yet. Eris is she's she's the goddess of disharmony, chaos, for the sake of balance. She's like Uranus,
Mm.
but I'll talk more about her maybe later. But yeah, there's a Kundalini energy that's happening. So going back to the other,
So you called it, is it a Kundalini I had?
I would say so, yeah, because you felt. Did you
Yeah.
feel it to the back?
So I was on pain meds that night, but I feel like everything else resonates with Kundalini.
Mm,
Yeah, that night I had had a hip surgery a week earlier, and so I was on some pain meds, but the next day I went off of them.
okay.
Yeah.
Did you feel it through the feet as well, and up to the head? It was really feet to the head, right?
When it happened?
Yeah, kind of like that.
Oh, I don't remember. I don't even remember.
Because I see here
I wish I
Vesta.
could.
That's okay. Vesta was here in Pisces, so that's usually the feet. That's usually rules the feet. But
Mm.
um, Aries rules the head, just like Mars, except Aries is more focused on top here. Um, but with Chiron in Aries, that's what it is. But Chiron in Aries here in this case was not in retrograde. So that means that you're wounding things that came back up, right? And you had to transform through those. That's the eighth house right here.
Oh yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You had to go through a bit of ego change as well, like identity change, a shift. Okay, the sun right there is transiting the
Yeah.
eighth house, and yeah. Okay. What else? There was something else I wanted to talk. Oh, your north node was back in. It was in the 12th house. Transiting your 12th house. It was in Cancer. So you probably had to go through family, um, maybe things with the family, or you had to process things with the family, like anything regarding the family. Like it could be a loss, it could be emotional past stuff. Actually, let's take a look. Where's the moon? Where's the moon? Oh, okay. More. Oh, with health, regarding health.
Yep.
Mm. Was this? Did you feel more? Did you feel? Did you have any gastrointestinal conditions that you went through? Any unexpected things in the stomach area or breast
At
or?
that at that time, you mean of my awakening?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was I was in an abusive relationship, so my body was really torn down, and I ended up having both my hips replaced. So I was going through major health stuff at that time.
Chiron hips. I believe there's. Aquarius does not rule the hips. Aquarius rules the legs, the shins, ankles, circulatory system. But if it's hips, I believe that's actually Legs.
I had,
Yeah, good.
yeah, I had so many physical problems at that time. Yeah, because of the abuse.
Hips. That's Sagittarius. So let's see what we have here. The moon was in 11 degrees Aquarius. If it was square, unless I go, okay, hold on 4, 6, 7. I can't see where the hip thing happened because here we have anything in Sagittarius is actually hip related, but I don't see anything square because a square aspect would tell me like a challenge and tell me like maybe unless we have to look into the opposite.
Yeah, but I actually started having those hip problems about
Oh,
9 years earlier.
oh, okay. That I can
Yeah,
that was it. Okay,
yeah.
9 years earlier.
Yeah, and I had just lived with the pain in my left leg. I was actually dragging it behind me for about a year. It was really bad. So when you said legs, that's what it reminded me of. Like,
Okay.
I needed those surgeries bad. And so I was dragging my left leg every time I walked. But
Ah, well, this shows right here. It's in about 15 to about 21 degrees. Yep, the planets right here. Like, I don't need to look up every single planet. I would just be able to look at all of them and see where they're going, where they went, and where they will be going. So, but there's a limit to this website where I can only like choose about maximum 10 planets at a time. So it's like,
oh, yeah.
yeah, it's very limiting. It doesn't. I don't like that lack of flow. I prefer flow. Um, but you said core here, Ixion follows. The Ixion shows me that there is like some sort of violation or breaking of, yeah, that can help that. But it's not in the sixth house. So, but it could be that was it exacerbated through like anything physical? Like,
Yeah, my hips, yeah. I actually wore my hips out from dancing so much.
okay, that makes sense. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, because it's in the fifth house. That's part of recreation. Even if it's like not necessarily, even if you love something and it's not really a hobby, like it's a passion, that still goes under the fifth house. It falls under the fifth
Oh,
house. So, yeah. And your north node was there in the fifth house too, so that was your focus. It's almost like you're being pulled towards that as well. You're being pulled towards discipline. You're being pulled towards being committed to what you wanted to do. You're having fun with it. Um, Orcus was still kind of like wondering, like what? But Varuna here, I didn't get to talk about Varuna. Varuna is completion of task, completion of being able to go from one end to the other and being committed to the process without forcing anything. So it's a higher vibration of Saturn. So, but Varuna trusts in the natural divine law of like what real discipline is, that it takes time to do something. Um, so, but basically, it rules connections, cohesion. Um, Here, it's almost like you weren't able to go through the past, your past life issues, and you had to really like maybe had to process it, maybe because it's now conjunct you're the cusp of the 12th house. So that means it's something that you had to really reflect on. In order to reflect that, though, it had to be opposite of your experience with this commitment towards hard work. So when it was imbalanced, it basically went, and then it went one way or the other. So that explains the whole. Okay, you committed to it, but I also see here Pluto series conjunction. that you might have had to have something lost as well, sort of like traumatic loss. Anything fun could be also relationships or affairs, romantic relations, maybe children as well at that time.
Yep.
So,
I
mm,
yeah.
yeah. This is the first time I've ever done an actual reading for someone when we went back to the past instead of the future. So that's
Wow.
cool. That's very cool.
That is cool. I love it.
Yeah. Um, Lots of things happening too. You uh, you were kind of doubting your own intelligence and wisdom and creativity. Like Pallas Athena retrograde there, conjunct your sun, so it affected your sense of like identity. It's kind of like you didn't know where to go, and then, especially because of maybe what others were telling you or people were telling you,
Yeah,
they were telling you, yeah.
exactly. Right on.
So a bunch of other things we can definitely like. It's more than a grave we're digging when we go back into the past, stuff like that. But we can definitely do that again for sure. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I promise it will only be like about less than 3 hours.
Oh,
um,
that's okay. You probably need time to rest before your next one, I'm sure, huh?
yeah, there's
Oh, this was awesome.
that's okay. Thank you. Um, any specific, any other specific questions? Like, I'm gonna look into the past life stuff. Like, sorry, I'm gonna stop recording right now. But so in the end, I had to cut off the recording because I thought it was actually done, and then I said more. It was just like about 10 minutes more, but basically I got the point across that it was like there's more to do. There's more things to talk about always, just like with your own birth chart. There's always things to know, little details, and there's always something surprising, which is a good thing. That's part of the process. But anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you really enjoyed that. I hope it was, at the very least, insightful or gave you ideas, whether you're an astrologer, you're learning about astrology, or for yourself, whatever the reason may be. Hope you had fun. I had fun myself. See you guys later. Bye.